how great is that song? I love introing to that. Thank you, Holly. How is everyone doing? Woo! I think ADMA put me on the last slot because looking around at this crowd, it looks like you need a little bit of light relief, right? It has been an epic day. We've had privacy regulation. Thank you, Sala. We've had AI-generated loneliness. And we've had a big discussion about whether pricing is a noun or a verb. Now, I come bearing some laughs, but be warned. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to get pretty damn serious about humour, about how our industry lost it, about how Uber found it, and what laughing at yourself can do for you and your business. Well, let's start with how Uber found it. Who remembers 2019? Anyone? I don't really. It was a lifetime ago. But if we can take you back to that, in 2019, 21st of October, I had my first day at Uber here in Australia. And I had joined from Google, which is a super mission-driven organization. So coming to Uber felt very familiar. It felt like Google, like joining 15 years earlier. It was very entrepreneurial. It was very exciting. But I could feel in the internal culture that the company had been through the ringer. We had been reeling from activist campaigns, a delete Uber campaign, from from reputational crises, from Senate inquiries, from internal restructures. In some fundamental way, we had lost our confidence. After one of the biggest corporate reckonings, the founder and CEO exited in 2017, and with him went the cult of the founder. So Uber needed to grow up from a challenger brand built on disruption at all cost. To what? We needed to rebuild faith in ourselves. As a first step, in 2018, our new CEO, Dara, set a very clear direction and standard for the company, putting do the right thing at the heart of our company values. And this led to a massive cultural shift, an organizational shift. But there is a difference between doing the right thing and having the rest of the world believe it. So we had to rebuild the brand. And as I say to my kids, it's no fun if it's too easy, right? Wrong, because a few months later, the biggest challenge that our business had ever faced hit with COVID. We lost 85% of our global mobility business, which is the profit engine of Uber, to COVID, all in a matter of weeks. This was not funny. I mean, literally no one was laughing, which was kind of funny. But there was magic brewing. Amidst the chaos, something totally unexpected was working remarkably well. This little brand platform, Tonight I'll Be Eating, homegrown here in Australia by our wonderful creative partner Special and by a damn good local marketing team. Consumers were loving it. The Uber Eats brand had grown to be the market leader up from, in just 1 year, up from the number 4 entrant. It had attained the highest brand favorability, salience, and penetration in the category. So in early 2020, as Uber pivoted our business to fuel on-demand delivery growth, we needed to find out more about what made this so magical. So that meant figuring out and codifying the ingredients to its success. What made Aussies delight in Kim Kardashian and a Shazza bowl haircut? So much so that they thought about Uber Eats for takeaway dinner. Well, the answer is a marketing superfood. It's an ingredient that is so potent, it works on everyone. It is the blueberry of your advertising diet. It is Self-deprecating humour. This is a very specific form of humour that Australians have mastered as part of our culture. There is so much power in laughing at yourself. It's a great leveller. It breaks down barriers. It brings people in on the joke. Self-deprecation is a shortcut to humility and likability. And so Uber Eats leveraged shameless, good old Aussie self-deprecation brought to life by celebrities willing to laugh at themselves and laugh at the very tropes and constructs of advertising. It reminded people why they should like us. And that makes sense, because Aussies are some of the funniest people on the planet. We know how to laugh at ourselves. You know, we have a history of making light of some pretty serious, pretty calamitous situations. Dan Harmon, creator of Rick and Morty, said so back in 2019. But indeed, if there was any doubt whatsoever, this was categorically proven 2 weeks ago with Ray Gunn's Olympic breakdancing debut, and as Australians, we could not be more proud to bring this joy to the world. Okay, let me play one of my favourite all-time ads from Tonight I'll Be Eating.
Tonight I'll be eating rice and some spices
and zucchini linguine.
with chicken flame grilled.
I've already eaten.
Oh, Grey Wiggle, dinner is better when we eat together. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. I now hate music.
I like the grey wiggle.
Quiet, red one.
So other markets wanted in on this success, and we codified the unique tone of voice and the campaign construct to great success across North America and Asia-Pacific markets. Eventually, self-deprecating humour became adopted as the default global tone of voice for Uber Eats and even Uber in many markets. So take a look at how this tone shows up in our Cannes Gold-winning campaign. It's a trains campaign from the UK.
Hiya.
Hi.
Thanks for waiting. I'm Gina.
Hi, Gina.
So I'll just jump in then, shall I?
Okay.
Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, this is my one.
Trains, now on Uber.
So we had a self-deprecating tone of voice, but then something really nice happened.
Nice.
Nice?
Nice.
Noise.
N-I-C-E, nice.
Noise.
Nice.
Yeah, couldn't help myself. Self-deprecation became a habit, not just a tone of voice. It became part of how we approached everything, our brand, our products, even our jobs. We began shining a light on our brands and our products' deficiencies and turning them into a cut-through communications device by making a joke out of them. So it was pretty scary at first, but it has actually been liberating. Like our Don't Eats campaign in the US, which pokes fun at why we even called Uber Eats. Take a look.
It was delivered with Uber Eats. Does that mean I can eat it?
It says eat.
It's a diaper.
This tastes bad.
Ooh. We'll just freeze on that one. And like our Get Almost Anything brand platform, which spends most of the time talking about all the things you can't get on Uber Eats. Because at the end of the day, what are we marketing? We're just marketing kebab delivery on a Tuesday night and a ride to meet your mates. So, self-deprecating humour has been fundamental to our brand building platforms and programs. It has brought focus to where we need to delight our customers and get our proposition right. It's been a really powerful salience engine in Australia and also around the world. Get Almost Anything has rolled out to 10 markets this year. And it has underpinned extraordinary brand-led growth for our business. This formula works. So why aren't more brands using it? Well, let me show you something which might surprise you. What happened to funny in our advertising industry? Well, Kantar has actually graphed it. Humour in global advertising, both funny and light-hearted, has been on a steady decline since the 1990s. So 20 years ago, almost 60% of ads were considered funny or light-hearted. And that has dropped to just 30% today. And we saw the biggest deviation after the global financial crisis. Things got really serious. And we don't exactly know why, but we can speculate. Marketing is a reflection of culture and of the macro environment. And there's been a lot going on. Was it the rise in social media? Was it the Me Too reckoning? Was it polarization from diverse political trends? Was it the discombobulation from a global pandemic? Was it that after the global recession, people had a lot of economic privilege and they started to adopt luxury beliefs and make the world a better place? Who knows? We don't know the answer to this, but no matter the context, brands responded. Marketers sharpened our tools and we got busy tackling the world's problems. Sometimes we even contributed to those problems while also trying to fix them. And there were a lot of them. Environmental apocalypse, gender inequality, capitalism, racial and social justice, a global pandemic, and more recently, even war. Indeed, there were so many problems that as a marketer, you had to lend your voice to all of them. Why was that? Well, we've been living in a puritanical age. Puritans have shown up throughout history, bringing a very somber piety, policing freedom, indulgence, lewd behavior, while dictating what people write, speak, and think. And the last decade has been one of these periods, and there have been many signals of this. Scott Galloway told us young people aren't having sex anymore. Cancel culture, censoring comedy, religious fervour in causes, and a hell of a lot of fear. Boy, it's been fun, isn't it? And as marketers, we are fanatical brand stewards, and so we respond to culture. And as Puritan disciples, brands outgrew, they rose above, and they rejected the funny. And it was invariably safer to do so. We replaced funny with a brand new gospel, purpose. We preached this gospel in boardrooms and on stages like this one. We kept talking about it. Even today, we've been talking about it. Purpose campaigns blitzed at Cannes Lion over the last decade. Marketers, do you think we lost sight of our role in the world? Were we ashamed of commercial success? Did we believe our own narrative? And with hubris, believe that our unique strengths of creativity and vision and storytelling and reach actually could change the world? It's good to self-reflect because, I mean, crikey, what were we thinking? Well, we know what it felt like. For a while there, it felt great. I felt that. It felt worthy and validating and meaningful until it didn't. Until consumers got really fed up by brands telling us how to think and live, and until those consumers said, "Shut up and make me laugh." So here we are today in 2024. It is a new era, baby. Consumers are craving light relief and escapism. We're seeing a rise in demand for nicecore on streaming platforms like Ted Lasso. In Argentina, with the currency crisis, there's demand for light romantic dramas. In post-Brexit UK, there's a big surge in nostalgic content. People are craving this because it provides safety, cultural touchstone, wonderful memories. History has a really surprising way of repeating itself. Now, the Great Depression in the US coincided with a golden age of Broadway musicals and screwball comedies. Maybe today's equivalent is TikTok, right? It is the fastest growing social platform of all time and one big fat comedy engine. So, look out, marketers, get out your whoopee cushions and your canned laughter. The pivot back to humour in our industry, in entertainment and in advertising, is ramping back fast. It is here. We're on our way. At Cannes this year, the new humour category had the largest number of submissions ever, and they were seriously funny. So why should you care? Because funny works hard. Now, there are a few things more boring than someone trying to explain a joke, but I'm going to give it a go. Right. Why does funny work hard? Humour is a Trojan horse for novelty. And what do I mean by that? I mean that it helps disrupt beliefs and change habits, but in a way that is safe and engaging for your audience. Humour is a lightning rod for attracting broad beam attention, which we know from System 1 research drives that elusive, intense emotional response. And that is an amplification of emotion that drives memorability. And humour makes people feel good. It's now been categorically proven. Humour makes people like you. It's been categorically proven that popularity beats purpose. And one of the best ways to make your brand popular is to make people laugh. And of course, most importantly, it makes people feel good. So, clinical evidence shows that humour reduces stress hormones. I mean, what a great gift to give your customers. People actually want to be entertained. They don't want to lecture about how great your brand is. So, it can do a lot. It works really hard for you. But there are some pitfalls. It's hard to get right. And funny is also very different across cultures. Now, how are we going? Are you on the funny bus with me? You on it? You want to? Yes, you want to laugh a bit? Should we take a little trip around the world and look at how some of the things that I've learned in marketing Uber across lots of different markets? Firstly, there are a few principles that we use across all cultures that we operate in. These seem to be universally applied. The first is how Uber uses talent. We don't use talent in all of our campaigns, but when we do, we like to work with celebrities who want to play themselves. They don't act. What is funny is that they are in on the joke. They're being self-deprecating about themselves. They're willing to make fun of themselves and what they are most famous for. What are their key characteristics? And there's got to be this, how the hell did they get them to do that factor? The second is that we play with known tropes like reality TV, sketch comedy, action, horror films. We're actually going to Hong Kong later on this week to do a kung fu ad. So our audience is very well versed in tropes of entertainment, and they love it when we reference them and we mess them up. Okay, see if you can spot this trope.
I admire and love you.
Oh, Mr. Darcy. Hi. Welcome to the 2020s. Like, women can vote now. We went to the moon.
Ooh, ankles.
Oh, boy.
A woman with a job? What shall we expect in the dowry?
Oh, not the dowry. Not a chamber pot.
So fans wanted us to make that into a modern period romance feature-length film, which we haven't done yet, but that would be too big a budget. But it'd be fun, a fun story to tell. The third universal trait is feeding off culture and trends. See if you know this one.
So David and I are going to be in a little commercial.
Be honest.
I am.
Honest.
Okay, it's a big commercial.
Okay, hopefully I don't need to explain that one. See if you can spot this very obvious trend.
Hey mate, for your neck.
Agassiz, such a good sport, willing to laugh at himself for not being able to take advantage of the mullet renaissance. Okay, now let's look at how humour needs to be tailored for different cultures and also their different sort of advertising codes that we see across markets. Now, we've talked a lot about Australia. The only thing Australians find funnier than self-deprecation is when non-Australians join in on the fun.
This is my second car. Designed for my second home, Australia. Bike rack, rod holders, roof racks, thong storage, built-in pie oven, freshwater shower. Oh, hey Barrow. Walter is having a little shower too. Budget smuggler drying system, BRS, buck reduction system.
Let's go to Portugal. Now, my Portuguese team tell me that the Portuguese have an incredible history of exploration and trade. That means that they don't have any issue with any taboo subject whatsoever. So here, our trans star orders some tampons, but for her ears. Give it.
No Uber Eats podes pedir tudo. Dá para pedir tampões? Calma, internet. Para os ouvidos. Sim, podes. E sentido de humor? Podes pedir quase tudo.
Okay. France loves witty jeux de mots, or play on words. So this character is frais de livraison. And that sounds exactly like delivery fees in French, which is also frais de livraison. And no one wants him in their house. And hence you need an Uber One membership.
Ça marche, hein?
Bonjour, moi c'est Fred. Frais de livraison, comme les frais de livraison.
C'est qui ce gars?
Ah, vous avez pas Uber One, vous. Vous savez, l'abonnement qui vous évite les frais de livraison.
Bonjour. Kylian, Antoine. Marcus, y a plus d'eau chaude. Aurélien, t'as mis où ton déo?
Il avait dit quoi déjà, le livreur? Uber One? Avec l'abonnement Uber One, supportez les bleus sans frais de livraison.
Okay, good old French. Now, Americans love observational comedy, and here we embrace the classic comedy style of US sitcoms.
Thank you. I didn't know you could get all this stuff on Uber Eats. Yeah. I remember that.
Well, you know what they say. In order to remember something, you gotta forget something else.
Jen! Hey!
Okay.
Have we met?
Oh. It's me.
Give me a hint.
Worked together for 10 years.
You were great.
You still don't know, do you?
I don't.
Right.
Like I forget 10 years of my life.
I hate this town.
All right, we're now going to the UK, dry as toast. The Brits do not shy away from a lot of social awkwardness. I'm showing you the 3-minute version of this. Sorry, the 30-second version of this. There is a 3-minute version that is literally just awkward silence.
You eat food?
I eat food? Yeah, I eat food.
Do you go places?
Yeah, I go places. You go places? You go places?
And that's when I knew I was going to be best friends with Robert De Niro. I showed him Uber One and how it was a membership for eating food and going places.
Really? Oh, that's very cute.
Uber One, a membership for people who eat food and go places.
All right, let's go to Mexico. So the Mexicans don't mind mocking themselves and their closest friends, and that can include physical comedy. So here are some friends who realize they can't order a silent eater on Uber Eats, but they can change his tune. All right, and 2 more to go. So now Taiwan. Our audience loves silly in Taiwan. It's safe, harmless, everyday fun that can border on the ridiculous. And for example, this Uber One campaign is never eat dirt, which means being down to your last paycheck.
今晚想吃哪种土？
不用啦，加入 Uber One 会员后，我每个月省超多，再也不用吃土。谢谢。
不用吃土了，
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 不用吃土了。
对啊，不用吃土了。Uber One 一定省，不吃土。
And finally, in Japan, this is where our brand tone of voice probably differs the most around the world and where I really can't use my Australian intuition. Japanese humour to Westernize is considered really over the top. Much of Japanese culture is about following rules and expectations to conform. And so humour becomes a comedy release valve. There's a lot of physical humour, it's quite nonsensical and very surreal. So take a look.
お腹すいた。
Uber Eats でいいんじゃない？今ならお得だし。
いや、パパッと作りますか。
どうした？やっぱり Uber Eats でいいんじゃない？
今なら1700円オフ。
All right, thank you for being on the world tour with me. Now, there are some things that actually also just work everywhere, much to the chagrin of our ex-FBI head of security and compliance. We do a lot of airborne jokes, like flying a pickle over Bondi Beach or dropping an incredibly phallic KFC drumstick from an aeroplane, balloons, and these are and their first delivery in space. So these seem to work around the world, bringing a lot of joy and a lot of laughs. All right, let me finish with this. Self-deprecation isn't an output of your marketing and brand. It is a behavior which guides how you think and act. And it starts with you not taking yourself too seriously. So I've shared how humour, and specifically self-deprecating humour, has worked for Uber, for our brand, but also for our internal culture. Marketers, we have all been living through a decade of a puritanical time. We've all been very pious. We actually weren't really allowed to laugh in our marketing, and it's been kind of depressing. So everyone, particularly our customers, is sick to death of it. So great, here we are. You know, the revolution is here. Not only do your customers and your teams enjoy and indeed crave and need humour, it works. Our industry is in a great place. Yes, times are tough. Yes, there is cost of living crisis. Yes, many of these issues are still there, but we can all have some fun again. So, Jerry Seinfeld made a plea to the class of 2024, don't lose your humour, you are going to need it. Marketers, we got a new gospel to live by. I want you to stand up. Stand up, stand up. You need to. Stand up. Oh, yes. Stand up, and I want you to activate those amazing marketing superpowers, your creativity, your passion, your storytelling, your self-importance as a marketer, your passion, and I want you to just let it all go and say, here is to having some more frigging laughs. Thank you very much. Woo!
right. Oh, there's more dancing.
I don't know what
Geez, I loved that. Thank you. I think after a day of really robust and at times some pretty confronting, challenging conversations, to have that levity to round off this event is just perfect. I think we could all do a lot worse than to make people laugh. So I am Helen Black. By day, I am Head of Connection Planning at Meta. By night, I am Chief iPad Control Officer of my household. But kids, look who's laughing now. It's here in my hands. I have 15 minutes to get curious and ask you as many questions as possible. So this is quote, which is attributed to many people. I'm going to go with Judi Dench, because she's amazing. Take the work seriously, not yourself. And I think you perfectly encapsulated that. But are there categories, like life insurance, road safety? Are there contexts where this humour is not the right approach?
I'm sure there are people in the room who will say, this is not right for my brand or my category. I'd love to hear it, because absolutely, there will be some categories that it is not right for. I'm always, though, continually surprised. You mentioned insurance and road safety, two brilliant examples where there is just a plethora of incredibly funny advertising. Like Google did one with AdSense, AdWords. Like, I think you could push yourself and you'd be able to find great ways in. So I think rather than saying, is this right for my category, I think you should be asking, what is the job I need to do? Do I need to drive attention, cut through, mental availability? Okay, what's a good way to do that? Is it through entertainment? Obviously we know it's got to be consistent, razor-sharp strategy, etc. But humour is a great way. It's a great way to give a gift to your audience. It's a great way for them to actually bother to watch an ad from you or hear a message from you. And I think that's pretty universal across many categories. So I don't know. I'm sure people in the audience would know, actually, this is not right for mine. But I think what's the job that it needs to do? And then also, I do think it is important, if you are going to lean in on humour, that it should be a consistent tone of voice. And so is that something that I'm going to be willing to keep building on for multiple campaigns, multiple years? Because it is that things like a self-deprecating tone of voice becomes a distinctive brand asset that is incredibly powerful. So I think about those kind of decisions rather than is it the right category. No.
Yeah, so playing with humour, it's a lot of fun. How can brands do this in a cancel culture? So sort of it feels like one wrong step, and Jen said, everyone, you're gone, you're cancelled. How do you do it, but you can't play safe with humour, but you don't want to get cancelled?
I think things have lightened up a lot. But I think, of course, any marketing you do takes judgment. And so is this something... Humour doesn't mean you need to offend. Humour, your number one job is to entertain. I'm actually amazed when I look across cultures that there is a different appetite for taboo topics and leaning in on some things that may be considered sort of borderline in some cultures versus others. And so that's where you have to have a really strong local team, and you really have to really understand culture and understand your audience, and have that strong gut feeling yourself as to, is this something that is going to delight and entertain, rather than shock and offend.
Yeah, too much. Yeah. I mean, look, I was taking my notes. I'm English. I can sit or stand here for a super long time with the awkward silence. Yeah. I can do it right now. But there's a brilliant question here around, I love this, being funny looks expensive. Yeah. Any tips does it? Any tips for doing humour on a shoestring? I suppose if you don't have Simon Cowell, how does it work?
I mean, I am very conscious that I just showed you the cream of the crop, the most expensive ads that we do. But they are, you do not need to have tier one celebrities in order to do that. I think they work very, very hard for us when we do. But you look at social platforms. I mean, it is all humour. So there are many ways to do this in lots of different formats. There were examples that I did show today that don't have talent. I think what is actually the most powerful thing is there a human insight in here that your audience is going to relate to? Because if it's true, whether it's a celebrities is a shortcut because they're famous for something. But there'll be other human insights that you just know are going to create some humour and levity amongst your audience because they're like, oh, I relate to that, I do that. And then, of course, there's all kinds of options. Working with creators, is a more cost-effective way to do it. And they're very funny and they know how to work with their audience.
So can businesses, I'm thinking back to Mark Ritson talking about objectives. Yeah. People like to do several things. It has been known. Can businesses do funny and purpose at the same time? Can they come together?
I mean, my thought on purpose is I just think as an industry we went too far, and I think it became performative rather than something that was really true to a core business objective. And and so I think you can. Every company has, good companies have purpose. Good companies know the role that they play in the world and they play in their consumers' lives, and they need to do that every single day. And so I'm not saying that humour is contradictory to that. I think where we as an industry went too far was we replaced humour with performative purpose, and consumers are fed up with it. Absolutely fed up. They're cynical and do not want to see that. I think what they want to see is businesses getting their core business
in your minds. There's a question here around digital marketing growth aligns closely with the decline in humour.
Yes.
Causation or correlation? Can performance ads be funny and effective?
Such a good question, and I've thought about that as well. I think that, because I was looking at the Kantar graph, thinking now there was this divergence after the financial crisis. Could that have also aligned with performance marketing taking up a larger proportion of budgets, marketing budgets, say over the last decade? We've seen that trend. Given that that was actually brand ads that were being tested, that theory didn't stack up. But I think that the shift to performance probably has had some impact on a decrease in humour in advertising, because I think it is a little bit harder to tell a joke in performance. It's not impossible. Humour is, what I've noticed with humour is that it really requires a razor-sharp strategy and a really sharp goal. Because in order to land a goal of what you need the ad to do, and to land a punchline in a joke, there's not a lot of room to do more. You can't really have RTBs because they're going to detract from either your core message or from your joke. So you've got to be really disciplined. And once you have a very sharp idea, then the humour, it just writes itself. And it can write itself through, obviously, beautiful storytelling, but also through the funnel.
That was a fascinating question for me, because we see in our research, not only does humour increase memorability and likability, but there's a really, really strong positive correlation between the use of humour and conversion rate. So absolutely, don't discount humour in that part of your activity.
That's fascinating. That's from Meta, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So thinking about frequency, okay, how long does a joke go on for? When's it still funny? So is managing frequency or having more creative variations even more important for humorous ads so the joke doesn't go stale?
I think we probably swap out our ads before we should. I think we could push them a bit longer. There are, I mean, the Wiggles ad there, that would still delight audiences. So no, I think people do, I think it can still have longevity.
And I'm thinking about the moment you're discussing this idea with your teams, you're selling it up the line in your business, and you might be having a board conversation, a CEO conversation around the Wiggles. It happens, I guess. So how have you encouraged senior execs to take this risk and get on board with humour? As you said, it's sort of a distinctive asset now for you.
I think having a track record where it works is very, very helpful, and having the consistency so that while one joke to the next may change, the tone of the brand platforms is really consistent, campaign over campaign, year after year. And so we have, obviously you can't predict future results, but we feel very confident that this tone has actually been instrumental in driving brand-led growth. It has really helped build confidence in this actually driving salience, driving affinity, and really, delivering really strong results for the business. I think that humour also, as I mentioned this, I mentioned just the impact on culture. I think as marketers and as brand stewards, we do take our job incredibly seriously, right? We manage these incredibly valuable, wonderful, precious brands, and we want to make sure that, everything is beautifully executed, and when there's something that's not on brand, we feel it in our very bones. But there is something that I found within our own teams just to loosen up a bit, and that humour has actually created a culture where people feel that they can take risks, they can play, and that has outsized impact. Not just on your work, but on collaboration, on risk-taking, on innovation. And so I think it has these broader broader benefits.
Impact.
Yes. Not just within marketing, but the broader business, and people feel very proud of, of seeing that and the humour around it.
Oh, I'm so glad you went there. Just brilliant pieces of work. Last question for you. Aussie humour is quite unique. And I'm sure there are many businesses, marketers in this room who are from global businesses. You might get a lovely suite of global assets delivered to you in a little package. How can they approach this? There's a question here linked to that around, do you have to work with a local creative agency to get that tone and that humour right in a market?
Yeah, I think I told the story, the history of Tonight I'll Be Eating was Australian born, and that humour travelled the world. And so I do think Australian humour is pretty universal. I will say a lot of our American colleagues will look at some of our Australian ads and kind of go, oh my God, they're a bit too hammy or not quite sophisticated enough or something. So yes, it might need some tweaks to be really locally relevant. I do agree. I mean, we work with local agencies around the world we have local teams around the world who are absolute experts in local culture and in their own and in their consumers, and I think that is really vital. There are some jokes, as I mentioned, some things are universal and delight everywhere, but I think if you want to sort of really build local relevance, it is, and you can afford to do so, and you have the time to do so, bringing a local edge to it makes it really special.
And if in doubt, just throw something out of a plane, chuck it in the air and see what happens. Look, there are a lot of questions here, by the way. We could talk for hours, but that would be taking ourselves far too seriously. So, look, thank you so much, Lucinda. What a refreshing and I think such a needed perspective. And thank you for your questions and for your laughter too.
Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you.